Hello, welcome to, I'm not sure what the title of this presentation is, but
Welcome to
horse therapy for first responders and military. My name is Russell Granger. I am one of the founding directors of 10th Mountain Equine. Is that louder? Okay. Founding directors of 10th Mountain Equine. We're located in Lake George, Colorado, which is west of Colorado Springs at 9,300 feet. We also do a podcast called Off Grid with Horses because we have our little ranch is 6 miles off grid, and which makes things a little bit different. My role is to do the administrative work, and I literally try to keep the lights on since it's off grid and solar powered and so forth. That's somewhat of a challenge. And this is my partner in crime, Alecz.
crime. I didn't say anything about crime.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Alecz Adams. I am the president of 10th Mountain Equine, which is a 501c3 nonprofit that works with veterans and horses of all sorts, rescues, Mustangs, and just horses we love and treasure. We also do off-grid with horses and talk about all of our experiences up there. I've been working with horses at large for over 40 years now, and I've been doing equine assisted services of all different kinds, lots of years with equine assisted therapy and therapeutic riding. Ooh, look, volume control. And therapeutic riding. And so some of the programs that we work with veterans include multi-day programs where we basically we call it teaching a man to fish. Of course, we teach a person to fish. And we have, we'll have people come in and they will work with programs with the wild or the rescued horses and learn how they are seen or can be perceived in society from working with the horses, and how they can control their ability to be able to change how they're perceived in society, as well as being able to actually release trauma and be able to have a happier life by and large. So, what do you want to say about the first responders?
My background, I was a firefighter for 15 years, a volunteer firefighter at Georgetown, Clear Creek County, so just up I-70. And my professional, I've been in the legal profession for a long time. I was a district judge for 27 years and still do that a little bit. I'm in a senior judge program, so I'm semi-retired. And got involved with horses about 2017 and noticed that when I was stressed out and uptight, and then I would go work with my horse, which was somewhat stressful because I had no idea what I was doing. I had an Arab, and she was an Arab, so she was a little high-strung, and had no idea what I was doing, but yet felt that after I worked with her, I felt better, felt more relaxed. Met Alecz, we began to talk about, well, yeah, that's the way it works. You know, she was doing equine, and we used to call it therapy. Now we do it, in Colorado, we don't really call it therapy because that has connotations that we're psychologists and we're not. So it's equine assisted activities now. And started speaking about that, started talking about horses in general, so we started a 501c3 and do horse rescues now as well as therapy. A lot of the therapy work or equine assisted activity work now is in Eagle. That's where both of Alecz and I were working at the time, and Alecz still has a lot of clients there in Eagle County, so she does a lot of work there in Eagle. A lot of our equine assisted activities is different. Alecz has developed a modality which is a little different than what if you've watched some of the films that have been on or some of the other presentations. They seem to, a lot of them rely a lot on riding, on therapeutic riding. And we do some therapeutic riding, but Alecz has a methodology that I've never seen anywhere else, never heard of anywhere else, that she's developed that is very fast, very efficient, and I'll let her describe it.
Okay, thank you. We do something that's called equine assisted trauma releasement. And what this does is it uses somatic modality, so use of the body and breath work to be able to help remove or help people to be able to let go or soften the effects that traumas have had on them. So, say for instance, we have an individual who has come to us for the first time, and we'll ask them, okay, so is your trauma something that you can put words to? We don't ask them that they need to be able to describe exactly what occurred. We ask people to bring up their trauma so that they can experience a physical sensation of what it does to them and how it affects them. We then ask them to identify that on a numbering system. So we would say, for instance, 0 is it doesn't bother me at all. 1 is, well, when someone mentions it, I remember it bothered me, but it doesn't really have an effect on me at all. Whereas 10 is, it bothers me so much, I can't ever stop thinking about it, I can't sleep because I'm thinking about it. When I do fall asleep, I have nightmares about it. 9 is, I think about it all the time, I can almost never get any relief from it, but when I sleep, I actually can rest from it, and so on, all the way in between. And so we'll ask somebody to bring that sensation up, bring that memory, or bring that way of working up, and they will be able to identify it with a number. So we take that number, we don't ask them, we don't need to know. If people want to share, they can, but we don't need to know what exactly it was happened. And then we take them through a series of movements, which is, since we have a fair amount of time, what I do is I teach people to do this, and we give it away free to anybody who is interested in it. Basically, you've identified it, you've given it a number. Then you go and you stand next to the equine. We can actually do this remotely as well, but that involves visualization or imagination. So in person, you go and you stand next to the equine, and then you are guided by the facilitator to feel your feet on the ground, feel the way your feet feel inside the soles of your shoes, feel the undulations of the earth underneath the soles of your shoes. And now place your hand on the equine that we're working with, whether it's a horse, a pony, a donkey. I guess we could use a zebra too, but we haven't done that yet. And place your hand on the animal that you're working with and feel them. Feel their hairs, how they're smooth or they're rough. Feel the temperature of them. And maybe you can even feel them breathing. Maybe you can feel them wiggling their skin underneath to swish away flies. But feel that, notice that, and then what you want to do is you want to bring up your thing, whatever it is that we've been working with, and then you take a deep breath and hold that breath. Then you bend over as close to tabletop as you can get, and with your hand on the horse and of course your feet on the ground, and then as you are experiencing this, you hold your breath. You don't want to hold it, of course, so long that you end up passing out or falling over or something like that. But you hold it as long as you can, and then when you are ready to, you, at the same time you stand up, you blow out through your mouth very hard and stand up at the same time. Then you pause for a moment, and then I have people turn around and place their other hand on the same side of the horse, and then we go through the process again. And then they pause for a moment, and then we will just sit and take a break and a moment or two, and then ask, so what's your number now? And invariably, everyone will go down at least one point. I have been in circumstances at expos where we're in front of 100 people, and I have people come down to do this, and they will literally, we have had people go from a 10 to a 2 in 2 minutes in front of 100 people without having to violate any of their own trust within themselves and share this with anyone. And their benefit stays with them. I've done this in the morning with an individual who had a horse accident, and then saw her later on at 6 o'clock in the evening and said, hey, what's your number? How you feeling now? And it's still holding way down at a 2. So the energy was actually able to be released. Now, sometimes people will come up to me and they'll say, I don't want to do this. This is my crap. I can take it. I deserve this or whatever. I own this. I'm not going to give it to this poor animal over here. That's not what I want to do. And so then we have one more element, because as I was saying before, we have programs for veterans where we teach them and we send them home with practices. This is a practice that we can send home to anybody. And honestly, I have yet to meet a veteran who doesn't have a dog at home. They always seem to have some kind of friend there that they can work with, a partner of some sort or another. And then what we do to combat this idea that individuals might be leaving their own junk with an animal that's trying to help them, is that we do a very simple little visualization, a little meditation, where we imagine a light, whether it's the light of sun or God's light or divinity or chi or whatever makes sense to that individual. And the light of that sun, we imagine, we don't place it from ourselves, but we visualize something larger being in the heart of that horse or that dog or whatever it is, animal that is our partner. And then we visualize it filling up their chest, filling up their shoulders, their withers, their top line, their hindquarters and tail, their barrel and belly, their head and neck, and all 4 of their legs. And we visualize them being so filled with light that it's positively spilling out of the pores of their body and surrounding them in a cloud or cocoon of soothing, gentle energy, and leaving no room for shadows. So in doing this, what we do is we're helping ourselves, and we're helping the animal partners that we have, and everybody benefits from this. Everyone is better off than they were when they started. And so I think I started this in like 2012 or something like that, and we call it the circle of giving. So we just go with it, and rescue horses, as well as Mustangs, they hold some of the similar traits where, like we see with our veterans, like we see with our first responders, that they've been damaged in ways by generally trying to help other individuals. They've been damaged in ways that they can't come back from on their own. And with this partnership, with this group, and with being able to make these kinds of offerings larger and more accessible to everybody, we're trying to help everybody to be able to trust and rely upon one another, so that we can build this wonderful ability for our veterans, our firefighters, our paramedics, our police officers, all the people that do so much and get so little recognition for it, so that they can be as happy as the people that they're trying to save and trying to help out. And we want our animals to be in the same place so that they can continue helping. There are programs or methodologies, eGala, EPONA, PATH. There are many other organizations that do all sorts of different levels of being able to help with helping people and using horses to be able to help people. But one of the things that we try to do is include the animal, the horse, in that consideration, so that everyone can benefit. And the horses don't have to work only 2 days a week or something like that, 2 or 3 days a week, because it's too much for them. They're coming out better than they started. And so with the horses, again, with like the wild horses, the Mustangs, a lot of times they're not socialized. They don't want to be socialized, similar to some of our first responders and veterans, because it's just too much. There's too many people. There's people asking questions. There's vibration of people being angry and people being scared and people being happy and people being sad, and cars and engines and planes and all of this stuff going on, and it's just so much for something that's come from the wild, or for a human that's been out in the jungle, or for all these different possibilities. And so by being able to bring the horses in, the rest of the animals in, being able to offer these services like so many organizations are these days, we're really trying to be able to get to places where, we're really much more of a family, of a real society, of a community, of a method where we can all just benefit more, no matter what we're doing, no matter what we're trying to head for. As having been a first responder for so many years, as having been a firefighter, how does it make you feel hearing that, because you're part of it, but from that place thinking, somebody's actually going to try to let me keep doing what I love to do, what matters to me so much.
Well, my experience with the firefighters, and I was a firefighter EMT, so I worked on the rescue as well, and on the ambulance crew as well. The resistance that you have, at least in the volunteer crews, and maybe it's changed in the past few years, but I don't think so, is that there's just resistance of any kind of therapy. We had an attitude of, if there's a scene that's really bad, you don't have to go out and get in the middle of it if it's going to bother you. If it's a plane crash or something, you don't have to do that because you're a volunteer. But everybody would. I don't know anybody that didn't. And then the attitude was, well, if it bothers you to see some of the things that we would see, especially on I-70 and car accidents on I-70, because that's predominantly what our trauma had was car accidents. If that bothers you, maybe you shouldn't be on the fire department because that's what you're going to get. You're not on the fire department to just wait for structure fires because that's only a couple a year. You really get on the fire department, you do primarily medical, and for us, just a ton of trauma. And so we would, especially the ones that have been on for a while, you'd kind of look at it and say, well, okay, maybe the newbies need some help because they're just not used to seeing some of this stuff. But we've been on the department for years and we've seen it all. It's just, it's a fatal, that's too bad, but that's not going to bother us. We just kind of, push it off. And as a volunteer, if the chief or your captain says, go talk to the counselor, the county counselor or whatever, most of us just couldn't clear our schedules for that. I'm a volunteer, I get it, that's probably helpful, but I got a job too, and family, I don't have time for that. Paid departments are a little bit different because your captain or your chief could say, okay, your afternoon, this is what you're doing. It doesn't really work so well with volunteers. But if my captain had said, why don't you go work with Alecz and help her groom some horses for the afternoon, and just kind of as a de-stressor, and it's a fun thing, and you've had some rough calls, that I probably would have done because it doesn't have the stigma on it. And I think our first responders are often overlooked. We talk a lot about it. We talk a lot about military because military has some significant issues that they've seen some stuff worse than the first responders. But we overlook a lot of our first responders, that they also have issues and need to deal with some things. One of the things before we run out of time that we are also working on at 10th Mountain, we're starting to develop more and more of what Alecz was saying, working with the horse, and almost becoming horse therapy, not a horse therapy where your patient or your client is an individual working with a horse, but the horse is your client, and you're working with the horse with their emotional things. And one of the areas that we're going into is releasing trapped emotions and emotions that the horses hold on to. Emotion is nothing but energy. Everything is energy in this universe. Ultimately, everything is energy. And an emotion is energy. You can think about that. If you have a strong emotion, you can feel that energy. That energy doesn't always dissipate. So when you relax after some event, sometimes you hold some of that emotion, and that energy just stays in you. And over a period of time, you build a lot of negative energy inside of you. And there's methodologies now that we know that will help release those emotions. And we are beginning to do more and more of that with horses, to release those emotions with the horse. Even if it's not after a therapeutic session, we've worked with our own horses, releasing emotions that, because maybe they're just lame a lot. And so we work with them on an emotion to release those emotions, and that helps them because that energy may be in their muscle. And we're doing more and more with that, which that's kind of an area that I'm exploring, that I find interesting. And Alecz works with the people, and I can work some with the horses, and Alecz is the horse person much more than I am. But it's, like Alecz said, when you have a horse, if you're doing horse therapy or therapy with where your client or your patient is a human, that energy goes somewhere. And so we're very careful to make sure that we release that from the horse after the session, and that even if the horse didn't just finish a session, to work with the horses to make sure that they're good as well. This is an abbreviated session this time, this panel, because we have to be across the courtyard in 5 minutes. So.
But if anybody has a question now about anything that we said, or any curiosity or anything, let's try. If anybody has one, I'd love to give one answer, because that's about all we've got time for. But if you don't, that's no worries in the least.
You just went through what I'm doing.
Oh, really?
Where I volunteer at Carnegie Equestrian Center. They do veteran therapy, and that's why I wanted to come to this to see, because that's my role, and the way I see my role is to take care of the horses before and after their sessions on the days that I'm there. And there's been some great things that I've not only learned, but that they've reacted to with me, and it's exactly what I was wondering. Does anybody take care of also the animals? So you just answered.
If you wish, read a book called The Emotion Code by Dr. Nelson. And it's 90% of that is geared towards people. There's a little section for horses, but it works on horses. When you first read it, when I first read through that, and I thought this is the hokiest thing I've ever heard of.
I love all that hokey stuff.
Yeah.
Hoki's good.
But I have to say, when we have done releasements where sometimes even with a person, sometimes you can feel that energy leave you. And we've done that with a horse, where the horse will just be sitting there, and I will release it, and it just goes nuts. It just spooks, because it feels that, and it wasn't expecting to feel that. Yeah. And it just spooks out, runs around a little bit, and then comes back to you and says, oh, that was kind of cool. And you keep going. So there is something, it does work.
And the name again of
The Emotion Code.
I got that.
Dr. Nelson is the author.
I think it's Ian Nelson.
Great.
And in the meantime, anything intention, I mean, we've proved scientifically that mere intention can change particles, can change matter. If nothing else in the meantime, while you're learning everything else or different options, just think to yourself, and one thing is, two things. Always keep your head back, because when we're like this, we are trying to control the outcome. So always keep your head back. And then the other thing is to not be attached to the outcome. Because sometimes lives, and I'm just going to say that broadly, they're only still here to try to figure out how to fix it. And then the moment you fix it, they're done. And so that's an important thing to remember, is that sometimes your help may not appear to you like help when it really is.
All right, thank you.
Thank you guys so much.